Hi, I'm Michelle Shingler, the editor-in-chief of Foreword Reviews, and you're tuning into Petit Foreword, our bite-sized interviews with indie authors. Speaking with Bret Lott, the beloved novelist whose latest book, Gather the Olives, released on June 18th. Its essays are a reminder of the shared humanity of those who move in and out of Israel and Palestine, a testament to hope eternal. Bret, thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Well, thank you. I'm honored and humbled. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, what first brought you to Israel, and what are your most vivid memories of that trip?
I got there because a friend of mine in grad school, way back in the early '80s, ended up working for in my MFA program. He ended up working for the State Department, and we sort of stayed in touch through the years. And suddenly, he was working at the American consulate in Israel, and invited me to come. And it took a couple years of scheduling for different reasons for me to get over there, but I finally got over there. But the lesson is sort of like, hey, pay attention to your friends when you're in school, because that's how I ended up over there. It's very fortunate.
So you write about Israel both meeting and defying your expectations in that first trip and with every subsequent trip. What has continued to surprise you the most about the land and its people?
What continues to surprise me is actually the beauty of the people, the friendliness, the openness, the ability to have wonderful conversations with people. There's all sorts of things that have been sort of barriers that have been broken down, and that's a very loaded word, but in terms of just talking about life and meaning and religion, things are kind of for everyone involved over there. There's things are at high stakes, and so there's not really time for just kind of chit chatting things. People want to talk, and I found that with everyone we met, everyone was open, wanted to know who we were, wanted to exchange ideas and beliefs and especially food is kind of the centerpiece of the book, and just the sitting down with people and sharing meals and talking about what's important.
Yeah, for sure. And you've recorded some great conversations in the book. As you mentioned, there's this recurrent emphasis on shared meals in the book. If you were to host a dinner party today that exemplifies all of your collective time in Israel and Palestine, what would you serve and why?
I would serve one thing, of course, would be hummus. I mean, that's everywhere, and labna, which is this yogurt-like thing. And when we were there, we also we lived in Jerusalem, and we'd get what were called Jerusalem bagels, which are kind of this long baked thing. So I would make some of those. I've all the things in the book. There was originally an idea in the book to have recipes, but that kind of got tossed off to the side when we realized that this is kind of like there's a lot more important things going on in the book than oh well, if you want to make this, here's how you do it. But it would be those Jerusalem bagels. But there's also a really important piece in the book about our going to Ramallah, and we stopped in at a bakery for lunch, and they were making something called sfiha,
Mm.
and I would make sure it's kind of like a pizza, but it's made with lamb meat and pine nuts and everything, and it's beautiful. And it was one of the most meaningful things for me to have had because of who I was with. There were just all kinds of people that I was with that were from all sorts of different places, and we
Yeah.
were waiting for this little beautiful little dish. So those would be some things. And falafel, although I have no idea how to make falafel.
Oh, it's easy. I'll send you a recipe.
Do you really? What scares me is frying. That just kind of scares me, dropping those babies in. I
Yeah,
imagine you probably cook them too, though.
yeah. In a closing chapter, you make the poignant observation that stories are what matters. Stories are who we are. Stories are how we build our lives and how we build our communities and how we build love. Stories are how we live. What is at the heart of your own Israel story?
The story of the people there, the capital S story of people there. There's a we hear the stories of division. We hear the stories, and this book was comes out at a very strange time in history. Um, but it's about hope, and it's about peace, and it's about food and being together. But the story for me is the beauty of the people. the people were so gracious. They were, and it's from top to bottom, from people, high level diplomats that we would meet, to these bakers at this, little bakery in Ramallah. Just the graciousness, the willingness to listen to your story and to hear and to tell their story. And as we were there, and that's what it says in that essay, is that it just dawned on me that we're just here, we're gathering stories and we're telling stories and we're exchanging stories, and that's how we come to know each other. And most often it was around food, and that kind of almost sacramental thing of gathering together and sharing a meal uh, sort of marshals in the ability to hear stories from other people and to get to know them. And my eternal treasure from that time there is the story of all these different people and how they want peace. They want peace.
So you have a fascinating essay that's about a somewhat uncomfortable trek to Nazareth that your guides persisted in hosting despite the possible dangers. There was a lot going on in the background of that trip. What is your
Mhm.
lasting takeaway from that experience?
Um, the takeaway from that one is that that's the essay that actually ends up at a bakery in Ramallah. But the takeaway from that was we kind of bounce along as Americans in our own big, wide country, and despite everything we see on the news, it is a free place, and we enjoy those freedoms. But the takeaway from that trip was things aren't as easy as that, and especially in Israel and Palestine, it is not that easy. And being under in a bulletproof suburban and having an advanced team, having an extraction team in place, uh, sort of heightened this sense that I'm in real danger. When I, as an American, I'm just kind of like, hey, this is great, and then it kind of dawns on me, oh, something else can happen. But then by the end of the essay, what happens is, and I'm spilling too much about this particular essay, but the end of that essay, I realized I was feeling the safest that I'd ever felt, and not because of an extraction team or an advanced team or anything. It was because of the people that I met there in Ramallah. I just felt absolutely safe, and it was a really beautiful moment for me to realize. Looking at the wall, I was looking at the wall. You could see across the street, like a quarter mile away, is the wall, and behind me is this bakery, and inside that bakery is all these wonderful people and this wonderful food, and I felt absolutely safe.
So obviously, Israel and Palestine have been at the top of the news this year. What, if anything, do you wish outsiders knew about the people of these lands that is perhaps excluded from or obscured within those stories?
What I wish people knew was that there are people who want peace, and they are seeking peace. I just texted or emailed a friend who's over there right now, wrote me this morning, and she said that number one, they hold vigils for the hostages, and number two, they protest the government daily because the government is doing what it's doing as well. And there's this dichotomy of of holding a vigil and protesting that goes on there. And the reasons those things happen is because people have hope. If you didn't have hope, you wouldn't have a protest, and you wouldn't have a vigil. If you didn't have hope, you wouldn't be sharing meals with people. If you didn't have hope, you wouldn't be telling stories. And that is what I hope that people understand about Israel and Palestine, that there are good people who want peace. And sadly, what we get through disseminated through the media are usually is all the most horrible stories, and horrible things happen and are happening and have happened. There's no doubt about that. But there are people who want peace in both sides. And
Your book is fantastic for delivering that sense of hope, and I'm excited to see how people are reacting to it. Um,
well, I very much appreciate how encouraging you've been and your wonderful words about the book. I really do mean that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about any other projects that you might have coming up?
No, just that I'm working on a novel right now that is a science fiction novel, and I have no clue. I learned early on, one of my teachers was James Baldwin way back in the day, and I cornered him at a party. It was a workshop, and it was the end of the semester, and I cornered him. I said, "You're James Baldwin. What can you tell me?" And he said, "Once you know how to do one thing, move on to the next." And it's sort of been, the way my life has been. I could actually march through all 15 of the books and say, "Okay, here's what I tried to do that I hadn't done before." So now I'm trying science fiction because I love science fiction,
Yeah.
and I have no clue how to do it.
Yeah.
So just so people know, writers basically are people who just bumble around in the dark trying to figure out how to do what it is they're doing. There's no recipes here. So that's where I am right now.
Well, that's great. We'll really look forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The book is out to our audience. Make sure to get it as soon as you can. It's available everywhere books are sold, and it's fabulous and comforting during these times.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.